Hello, everyone. I'm George Mahoney, and today I'm going to talk to you about the 15 laws of personal growth. And before we dive in, I'm going to ask you a question. It's a deep question, it's a thought provoking question, so I hope you're ready to hear it. How much of your potential are you using right now? Go ahead, think about it. How much of your potential are you using right now? Now, before you answer that and you truly answer it, I want you to look at this picture. This picture shows what I would call the contractual line of fire. And most people, they work their potential or use their potential right up to that contractual line of fire. So, what's the contractual line of fire? The contractual line of fire is I'm going to do just as much as I can, but I'm not going to cross that line. If I cross that line, I'm probably going to get fired. So think about the slacker. That means if I don't use that much potential, my company's going to fire me. But also think about it the other way, not the slacker, but the overachiever. The overachiever who feels like if I cross that line, I'm going to put myself in a bad spot. They're going to think I'm too wild at work, or I have too many crazy ideas, or they're going to look at me the wrong way. But that's what the contractual line of fire is. It's the line where people do not want to cross. And it's sometimes, a lot of the time, it's just this self-imposed imaginary line. Now, that line, it also caps your productivity. It caps your productivity. And think about this. Everything above that top line is opportunity lost. And when we're in this world, when we're at that line, when we're at this line right here, no one's happy. Employees aren't happy because they're not using all their potential. And employers aren't happy because they're not getting the most out of the people that work for. In fact, if you're only using 35% of your potential, 65% of it is lost. That's more than a half of a person that's lost every single day. You could double your capacity, more than double your capacity, if you got every bit of talent and potential out of the people that are working for you or for yourself. And the gap between where you are and where you want to be, that's called a growth gap. That's called a growth gap. So my next question to you is, do you actually have a plan to close your growth gap? Do you actually have a plan? I'm repeating that for emphasis because most people don't have a plan. They just go through life every single day with no plan. And because of this, they get stuck in something that I would call the people pile. What's a people pile? It's a pile of people that you can't get out of. It's a pile of people where you're stuck in the middle and you're looked at as being average. You're never going to be great being stuck in that people pile. You're never going to do anything of significance stuck in that people pile. So my other question to you is, what are your plans to help separate yourself from the pack? And how could you put me, or how can I potentially help you to do that? So let's dive into these 15 laws of personal growth. There's 15. We're not going to cover them all today. We're actually just going to cover one of those 15 laws of personal growth. But to do that, we have to start off with this mantra. It's a mantra that our teams say every day. I'm a person of value who values people and brings value to them. I'll say it again for impact. I'm a person of value who values people and brings value to them. The thing is, that last sentence, it's really critical because you can't bring value to other people if you're not a person of value. And you can't give what you don't have. So how can you bring value to other people if you don't have anything to add? And if you don't have a growth plan, how do you become a person of value? Now, there's this quote from James Allen. It says, men are anxious to improve their circumstances, but are unwilling to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound. Think about it. I got to change. My job's terrible. I don't like what I'm doing. The commute's too long. I have no freedom. I hate my boss. I don't get paid enough. I have too much work. But what are you doing to improve yourself, to get out of that circumstance? You have a lot more control over your own personal growth than you do to control the circumstances around you. You're never going to change the traffic on the BQE. You're never going to change the cost of tolls on the Verrazano Bridge. So, what are you going to do to improve yourself, to make yourself unbound? Now, a lot of people, they assume because we naturally grow up and we get older and we mature physically that we're also going to just naturally grow. Well, that's not actually the case. While you may grow taller and maybe your bones will grow stronger and maybe you'll get stronger muscles just from aging, the same thing is not going to happen with your personal growth and development. You actually need to be intentional about it. So this takes us to the only law that we're going to cover in this session today. And by the way, there's 15 different laws, but the only one we're going to cover today is this law of intentionality. And the law of intentionality states that growth doesn't just happen and that we need to be intentional. We need to be intentional about our growth plan. Now, some people will say, well, what about experience? Isn't experience the best teacher? And they go to the school of what I would call the school of hard knocks. Yeah, you can learn from the school of hard knocks, but it's an unreliable school. It's also a hard school. Sometimes you get beat up. It's a lot easier if you put yourself in control and you methodically and intentionally map out your own growth plan. You want to be intentional about what you're going to do. And really, as Jim Rohn said, if you don't design your own life, chances are you're going to fall into somebody else's design for you. And guess how many great things they have planned for you? Take a guess. Probably none. Most people are narcissistic. They're the hero of their story. They're the main character in their movie, not you. You're just a supporting actor or actress. So again, what are you doing to intentionally plan out your growth plan? Others might say, well, what about luck? Some people just get lucky. Forget about experience. I'm just going to rely on luck. Well, there's really no such thing as luck. In fact, this is the formula for luck. It's preparation plus attitude plus opportunity plus action. And where does personal growth fit in? Well, it fits in right into that first one, preparation. The more you intentionally develop your personal growth plan, the more preparation you are going to have towards this thing called luck. So once again, do you have a plan to close your growth gap? If you're like most people, the answer is no. Most people have not been intentional or methodical about mapping out their growth plan. And by the way, being busy doesn't equal growth. Just because you have a lot of work to do, because you're checking a lot of items off your to-do list, it does not mean that you are growing. It does not mean that you are improving in what you're doing. Even if you're hitting goals, it might not actually correlate to personal growth. So imagine that you were sawing wood. You're busy. You're all day. You're sawing wood. 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 Eventually, the blades of that saw are going to dull. And the saying goes, never be so sawing that you forget to take time to sharpen the saw. I'll say that again. Never be so busy sawing that you forget to take time to sharpen the saw. And you need to be intentional about sharpening the saw. You need to be intentional about your growth plan because the world's not going to let you do it naturally. It's going to just creep in with more and more things to keep you busy, living up to someone else's agenda, living up to someone else's to-do list. So you legitimately need to be intentional about your own growth plan. Question for you, one of the last questions I'll ask is, what do you need to do if you want to grow a forest? What do you need to do if you want to grow a forest? Well, you got to plant a lot of trees. And maybe today you don't have your forest, maybe tomorrow you don't have your forest, but the things you're doing today, that's the only guarantee or the only chance that you have at having success or being better tomorrow. The trees you plant today are going to give you the forest that you want tomorrow. Now, for this all to work, your personal growth plan has to have three different factors. Number one, it's got to be intentional. I said this before, I say it again. It's actually rule number one, but you need to methodically map out what you're going to do because no one's going to do it for you. Number two is it needs to be useful, not only to you, but to other people. This needs to be a useful growth plan. You got to find the areas of your life, and I'd say this, stay in your strength zone. Don't try and do things that you're not good at because you'll never be great at it. If you're not good at it, you'll never be great at it. Focus on the things that you're really good at, but also focus on the things that add the most value to other people and yourself. What gives you the greatest return on your investment? And the third thing is that it needs to be continual. There cannot be a finish line. When you stop growing, you're dead. You may not be at a grave. You may not be at a funeral home, but you're already dead. The day you decide to stop growing every day is the day it's over, and now you're just a zombie walking around. So again, for this to work, you need to meet these three conditions. It has to be intentional, it has to be useful, and it has to be continual. I am so intentional about this. I'm so intentional about this for me that I've already mapped out my perfect day. This is my perfect day to ensure that I grow daily, that I hit my personal growth goals every single day. I've called it my daily dozen. This does not need to be your daily dozen. You don't even need to have 12 things, but I've mapped out 12 things that I need to do every day. If I do them every single day, I will have hit the goals that I wanted for my personal growth plan. Not only did I map out what I wanted to do, I figured out when I wanted to do it based on the right time of day. Earlier in the day, that's when I want to analyze data and do analytics and solve problems. Later in the day, that's when I want to be creative. That's when I want to put together PowerPoint presentations and fancy slide decks. So this allowed me to map out my perfect day from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed. Again, I was intentional about what I was doing. So what can I do? I asked this before. What can I do to help you on your own journey of personal growth? I will be holding a mastermind on the book from John Maxwell, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. What's a mastermind? A mastermind is a session where a group of people get together. In this specific instance, we'll be talking about certain chapters of the book. We'll read some excerpts from the book, and then we're going to talk about what it means to the people in the group. And then we're going to talk about what actions they're going to take to go and do from what they've learned in those chapters that we discuss. The size of the group is about 8 to 10 people. I'm going to cap it off at about 10 people. Too many people is too much, but the first 10 people that sign up, they'll be admitted to the group. You may say, who is this guy? Well, I'm George Mahoney, as I mentioned earlier before. That probably means nothing to you. So in terms of credentials, I am a Maxwell Leadership Certified Coach. I'm also a certified DISC trainer, a personality assessment trainer, and my role would be to facilitate these conversations in the mastermind. I'll be the one choosing which sections of the book we're going to discuss. I'm going to have some thought-provoking questions for each of those sections. I'll also have some evaluations you can take on yourself to see how mature you are at each one of these 15 laws of growth. And my purpose in life, the purpose that I found for myself was to help people die empty. I did a lot of thought on this. I did a lot of research on this, a lot of self-reflection. And for me, this is why I do what I do. So again, who am I? I'm George Mahoney. Who cares? But why should you care? Why should you know that I'm invested in this? Is because this is legitimately my life's purpose. That's why this area of personal growth means so much to me, and also helping other people find their purpose and to help them with their personal growth plan. And if you're thinking, what does die empty mean? What does that mean? It means that when you're on your deathbed, you've used every bit of potential that was put into your body. Whatever was put in by whomever you think. I'm a spiritual guy. I'll say God. If God put some piece of potential into you, when you're dead, when you're on that deathbed, you should have used every ounce of it. All of that should have left you. You should have no regrets on your deathbed. You shouldn't be sitting at 35% of your potential for your entire life. Now, there's 5 things that I do. There's 5 things that I do in the work that I do. 1's make speeches, 2's host masterminds, 3 play games, 4 is do personality assessments, and 5 coach. But in this specific scenario, we're talking about a mastermind, and we're specifically talking about a mastermind on the 15 laws of personal growth. Now, you might say, look, I don't need you. I can read. Yeah, I know you can read. If reading was that simple, if all it took was information, the entire world would have 6 packs and be billionaires. But it's not just about information. If you're looking at this learning pyramid, you can see that just reading, you might retain about 10% of it. But when you get into discussion groups, when you get into practice by doing, when you're teaching others, that's when you hit these high retention rates, up to 90% retention rate versus a 10% retention rate. And guess what? A mastermind is where we're going to discuss things in the book. We're going to go and do, we're going to practice, and then we're going to teach each other in the conversations that we're having. And by the way, in our masterminds now, you're going to get a buddy. You're going to get a buddy, someone assigned to you, and they're going to hold you accountable to actually go and do what you said you're going to do. And when we come to the next mastermind group, they're going to report out on what you did. They're going to say, hey, Jimmy, this is what he committed to. This is what he did. I am his buddy, and I'm holding him accountable to this, and he's going to do the same for you. Now, there's the story of 5 frogs sitting on a log. 4 of those frogs decide to jump off. How many are left? And most people think the answer is 1, but that's not true. The answer is 5. Just because these frogs decided to jump off the ledge doesn't mean they actually did it. So if you're sitting here debating where you're at, thinking about your personal growth plan, know that you got to act. Know that you got to act, because action is the only thing that changes things. And if you were debating, hey, should I sign up for a mastermind? Should I even think about doing this? Just know that the longer you wait, the less likely you are to actually do it. Any goal you put off, anything you put off, it actually diminishes your intent to actually get something done. And don't wait for the perfect process. A lot of people will wait. Maybe there's something better. Maybe there's something more cost effective. Maybe this isn't right for me. But what I found is you shouldn't wait to start until you find the perfect process. You should start in order to find the perfect process. As you start this, you will find out if this is right for you or not. And you can get by. You can get by every single day living the life that you're living. You're probably making good money. Maybe you're a little miserable about your commute, or about maybe some travel you got to do that you don't want to do, or some worthless task you're doing at work. You can get by, but it's like eating plain oatmeal every day. Yeah, you can live off plain oatmeal, but it's not really as good as that maple and brown sugar. That's the real good stuff. That's the real good stuff that helps you really enjoy life, taste life. So again, what are you going to do to separate yourself from the pack? Are you going to live in that people pile forever? Are you going to live a quiet life of desperation? Or are you going to join me on my journey to help people die empty? If you are interested in a mastermind, the first 10 people that sign up, that's it. We're not going more than 10. The first people that sign up, they're going to be in. If you want to contact me, all the information is on the screen right now. Easiest way may be my email, gmahoney718@gmail.com, gmahoney718@gmail.com. Email me, and I will, if you're the first 10, you will be admitted into the mastermind group, and you too can take the first steps, the first intentional steps on your personal growth journey.